Hi everyone, it's Nicole and welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing layout number 3 in my project tray number 2 series. Today we are working with the mixtape kit from Click Kits. This is the kit that I will be working with for this entire series, and today's pieces I am focusing on a sheet of Simple Stories paper in some of the coordinating embellishments. This is the Hard Ice collection, and I absolutely love these bright, bold, and orange florals along with that text teal print on the back. So we're going to make today's layout focused on that. With that, and because I'm only using one sheet of paper in this, I am actually going to pull in quite a bit of mixed media. This is going to be very spray ink heavy, but this is one of those things where, like, don't be afraid to play. As long as you use gesso, which is what I'm coating my paper here with, gesso gives your project a lot of forgiveness. So if you overdo it or do a wrong color or do something that you don't like, gesso gives you the flexibility to spray it with water and wipe it off. And I actually do a boo-boo, and I left it in so that you could see a little bit of what it does, because it has a lot of forgiveness. So I coated my white sheet of paper with gesso and I set it aside to dry. I do love this. I think this is Dina Wakely mixed media gesso. I love her gessos. They're very smooth and they dry very, very quickly. So I love that for her branding. So I set that aside to dry, and it was dry by the time I was done fussy cutting all of those little floral clusters off the backside of that paper. I chopped off the bottom half because I knew I wanted to take this at an angle. So what I did was just flip this over, use this blue piece here, and then I'm actually going to go in and start to tear things down and apart. And when I tear some things apart, I am going to layer things to make it look a little bit better. For a minute, I had forgotten what the angle was that I wanted to use. So I remembered when I was doing my original video, I had taken a picture on my phone. So I went back in my phone and searched for that photo to kind of refresh my memory. And that's one of the great things about this tray series, is that when you do your original breakdowns, if you make those sketches like I did, or if you take those photos like I did, it'll help bring back and jar those memories. So when I was doing this, I realized that I didn't have gesso on all of the paper that was going to be exposed, especially that top right. So I went back in and added a little bit of gesso on there because I need to have that on there because my mixed media is going to be there and I want my colors to flow. If that wasn't there, my colors wouldn't flow. So I stuck that on there, and in the meantime, I'm layering up my papers. I do chop off the back because I don't want to waste anything at this point. I might be able to use that for something later on, which I do. So on the torn edges, I just run my finger across it, fluff them up a little bit. It adds that little bit more of dimension, and it worked perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out 4 Distress Oxide sprays. These were newer, so I did have to go in and cut wrappings off of everything. I only ended up using 3 of the Oxide sprays, and that was Abandoned Coral, Peacock Feathers, and Picked Raspberry. And these were actually the same colors that I used on the previous layout with ink blending, but this time we're taking it to the sprays, so you can see what different things you can do with different types of mediums. This part of the video is not very long, but I left everything in because I wanted to see what my thought process is and how I pull everything together when I do this, because I slop color down, I push a lot of water with it, and then I dab it up, and then I add another color, and I do the same exact thing. And then whenever I get that on there, I realize I start to form puddles. I let colors move around, but then I take a paper towel, dab it up, because I want these colors to blend, but I don't want them to mix. And you can see that with the blue, especially because the blue tries to overtake the abandoned coral and the pink in some places. And it actually tries to blend and mix colors into a purple, and I didn't want that to happen. So you have to be kind of quick at it to dab it up so that it doesn't mix. But if it does mix, because there's gesso on the background, it'll wipe right up with the paper towels. That's why I'm saying, like, if you are afraid to start with mixed media, make sure that you have yourself a gesso to work with, and it's a lot more forgiving, and it might be a little bit easier to start with. But right there where I'm wiping up that brush was a boo-boo that I had made when I had sprayed my colors on the side there. If you want to rewind, you can see that there was mist spray on that side of the page, and because I had coated it with gesso, I was able to take a wet brush to it and wipe it right off, and you can't even tell that it is even there. So as this starts to dry back a little bit, I am going in and adding a second layer of colors so that the colors become more bold and vibrant, and so that you can start to see the layers building upon layers in here. It will start to pool in some areas, but I'm just taking a paper towel, going in and picking that up. And then once I find a pattern like this that I like, I let it sit. It isn't 100% dry, but it is dry enough for me right now, because I'm going to go back in and add some splatters. I am adding splatters in all three colors, but I'm adding them only to the places where they were on my page. So I'm going to do blue splatters on top of the blue, pink on top of the pink, and the abandoned coral on top of the coral. That helps keep things a little bit more cohesive. It doesn't make all of that blending and maybe a little bit of mixed colors that you don't want. So that helps keep everything a little bit more uniform. Right before everything is completely dry, I do roll a paper towel over it to pull up any loose puddles of water or ink or anything laying there before I start adding my papers. And then now, with everything for the most part being dry, I'm going to go in and finish my layout. So I pull back in this double, the angled paper here that I doubled up, and I am going to go ahead and glue it down. When you do mixed media like this, the best thing to use is liquid glue, because sometimes that tape doesn't stick, and if it does stick, it is only temporary, and over time your layouts will peel apart very easily because of the paint that is on this and because of the gesso. So highly recommend any liquid glue that you have, use it if you're going to do something like this. I had two photos of my husband and I that I was going to use, but as I started layering this together, I found that my layers were being lost. That orange piece that had the florals on there, you really couldn't see anymore. So even though I tried to make it work, I end up pulling one photo away and taking it down to just one photo of him and I, and then that orange layer starts to come back out, and I end up just using that one photo. So I do end up start layering in my larger pieces of ephemera first. I do the two hearts. I like that. All I need is teal piece that will stay on the teal. I like it, but it is a very large and bold piece, so I left the teal on teal because it doesn't stand out quite as much, but it's still there. For the other one, it says, "You are my greatest adventure." I'm going to add that to this bottom right of my layout. It kind of felt a little bit empty, and I did want to use that piece on here just because it ties in with everything else that I am using. So I'm going to add it on the bottom right. I ripped off another piece of that text paper. I glued it down, and I'm going to come back in and add just a smidge of mixed media to kind of tie everything back in together. I don't go as very water heavy on this because I do have that teal text piece already down, and it does not have gesso on it, so I didn't want to ruin it, so to speak, and have it too much flooded with color. I just wanted a little bit in the background there to help bring in that top section and bring it down to the bottom right. So that's going to be pretty much all of the mixed media that I add into this layout on the color on the background. I will start to build my layers. I do use that piece that I chopped off of the back as a photo mat. And I do pull in this heart paper, which is the B side of the octagons that we had used already on another layout, but I still had lots left over, so we're going to use that as a photo mat as well. It helps bring in some of that black and help pop that photo a little bit more on top of all of that mixed media and other bright colors. So So I'm going to start adding some foam in here and onto the back of my larger pieces. And I'm going to start laying things down on my layout, how I want to put everything together. I do a little bit more mixed media, one final piece of mixed media actually, before I start gluing any of this down. And before I start adding in those other pieces, I go ahead and pull everything off, and I'm going to pull in that last bit of mixed media now. This is a very old Simon Says Stamp mini heart stencil. It is not available. I've used it on other projects recently. I've tried pulling it up on their website. It is not there. So I apologize, but this is a very not basic stencil, but it's a common stencil. So any type of little hearts that you have, or little circles, or anything small, it helps pull in some more of that white, or we're very color heavy now. We can add in some of that white, and it helps pop that back out. So everything is dry, and I'm going to go ahead back in and finish all of my layers. I do get very, very layer heavy with this one as well. I felt that with those larger hearts being so bold and big, that I was able to do that, and you could still tell what those pieces were. Also, another thing on this spread that I did not do was I did not journal on it. I don't journal on all of my layouts all of the time. I don't feel that it was needed for this one. I felt that the ephemera that was being used, saying all I need is you are my greatest adventure, and then my title will end up being I love you, that was enough for me, because it really was just about me and my husband, not about anything that we did that day, not about where we were at when we took this. It was just a simple love layout, so I didn't feel that it needed the journaling. So I'm going ahead and adhering all of the florals that I fussy cut out from that orange paper. Some of them I am gluing directly down to my page. Others I am putting on foam adhesive and gluing down. Once things are glued down, I will start to actually ruffle the edges of some things up so that it helps pop up off the page. That little teal tag there, I do put in behind that heart. I actually incorporate all three, the teal, the orange, and that small pink one. I was going to date stamp that small pink one, but it wasn't big enough. So I went ahead and used my date stamp on this teal one and tucked it right in behind the heart, and I thought that was the perfect pop of color for that section. I felt that teal ephemera went really well with the teal mixed media that was on the background right there, and then it worked great. So I do have a couple little hearts that I pulled aside. I believe there are 4 of them. I do add some of the same foam onto the back of those, layer those in and around my clusters, and glue those down as well. When you are using this foam, if it isn't the double-sided sticky and it's only the single and you have to use the glue, it takes a little bit longer to dry, so just be prepared for that. The other orange tag I cut in half, and I use it as layers around my photo for the top and the bottom to help bring that extra pop of orange in. So the Bella chipboard stickers, I pull off the word I love you, and I'm going to add those in and use those as a large title. I popped them all out, went to put them down, and I chose to actually glue these down. Some of them were sticking, some of them weren't sticking the greatest. So I just decided just to glue it all in. Since everything else was glued, I didn't want anything falling off of my layout later on down the road. So I had this scrap piece still from the hexagon sitting on my desk over to the right, and I was looking at it, trying to figure out if there was a way to build it in, trying to use up my kit, and there were 2 hexagons on there, one that had this phone and another one here that I am fussy cutting out. It had the chocolate dipped strawberry. Has absolutely nothing to do with what is going on my page, but I thought those elements were super cute. So I decided to fussy cut them out and just use them on my spread. Phone has nothing to do with it, neither does the strawberry bit. How stinking cute do those look, really? And then I saw that chipboard lips, and I thought, perfect, have to add that in. So I went ahead and put that on top of that small pink banner that's down on the bottom, just to get it in. Now these Bella enamel stickers, I pulled some of those off. I used mostly the hearts off of this one. There was a pink striped one that I included down on the bottom right, a blue geometric pattern that I added to the blue mixed media section, and then a pink and black lined striped one that I added into the pink mixed media section. I love color blocking. It's one of my favorite things to do. It lets you add a lot of little extra pieces on your spread without it being too wow, because it doesn't stand out as much when you do some color blocking. So I have the little tray here sitting on my desk. These are all of the pieces that I really don't have anything specific in mind for, that I didn't assign to a project tray in my initial video. So I'm just flicking through it to see if there's anything else that I could use. And I do find that I love you banner right there that I use, and the true love banner down below that I use. And then I saw as I was flicking through those that I had those white tickets out that I was going to use for journaling, but then I decided not to journal, so I used them as layers. I put one up there behind that I love you. I put one down on the bottom right behind those, and then one right here behind my title. I love the little layering pieces. It adds white pops of color back into my spread that I took away by doing that mixed media. So it helps pull some things together more. And then after going through it all, I found up on the top left there, it says be mind, you plus me equals heart, and then me plus you. I leave those out because I'm going to create another small cluster up on the top left there at the very end. I do have some enamel dots, the pink fresh ones that I haven't even touched yet. And we're 3 projects in, and I love enamel dots, and I haven't even broke into these. So I do that with this spread, and I use a lot of them. I use the orangish pinkish color, the teal, and the yellow, tucking them in behind embellishment pieces like I did there. I use the bigger ones for that. It helps make it feel more cohesive whenever you layer enamel dots like that. But I add loads of them around my page for even more pops of color. And I love how that looks with the pop of color in my I love you title and even everything else that's going on in this spread. Once I get the last bit of those laid down, I finish this little top cluster here by layering these 3 pieces together, and I use my mini stapler to attach those on. I will pop that 3 pieces up on some more dimensional foam, and I add a white ticket behind that to help pull everything together. And that is going to finish out today's mixed media layout. I hope you've had fun. I hope you've been inspired. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I would love for you to stick around and subscribe. You guys, thanks so much for my continued subscribers and all your love and support. If y'all could hit that thumbs up, I would really appreciate it, and it helps out my channel so much. Here's some close-ups for you at the end to see all that bright and beautiful coloring. I hope I've inspired you to create something today mixed media related, and I would love to see it if you do. Thanks so much for stopping by. Until next time, have a great day. Bye.